We all need to get up out of here.
Oh no. Yeah, he's black. He's black. Call 911. You're right. Yeah.
How about he's obnoxious?
Because he's black.
Has nothing to
Yeah.
do with the
Ask him to sit down. 911's for emergencies.
Settle down.
Just tell him to shut up.
That boy right here. That boy in the angel hat right here played me out my pocket. So play that boy right
We're
there.
gonna get the police here and take care of all of
There's
this.
police in there.
I know that's what you want to do, but let's keep it out to sexuality.
Man, fuck it up, Sarah. Man, my family's forbidden. You're my family forbidden. You fuck you, dude. Homeboy fucking said something to me and I wasn't talking to him. So now since I wasn't talking to him,
I'm now going to be official. You are disturbing the meeting. Please
I
stop.
don't need to talk to you nowhere.
That's
Go
one.
back to
2,
your
you're
meeting.
disturbing the meeting. Please stop.
Go back to your meeting.
You are disturbing the meeting. Please stop.
I'm getting ready to shut him up. The guy came over there, he goes,
Listen. Now you're disturbing
I
the
didn't
meeting.
say, listen, man, you guys are talking. And this is back fucking right here in the angel hat. Said something to me. And I didn't say
We're
shit.
going to have a 5-minute recess while the police.
And I know everybody in here knows who the fuck I am. So fuck all y'all. And that's the last thing I'm gonna say. And I ain't gonna say no more. Go back on with your meeting.
Thank you.
Go back on with your meeting, man. I was sitting back here minding my own business. Brother, my ass. Get the fuck out of my face and stop calling me a brother. I got 4 sisters, and you ain't one of them. I don't give a fuck if your dad is fucking Jesus Christ. Leave me the fuck alone. That boy came over, this fat motherfucker right here. Came over
All right.
and bullshit with this boyhead fat. And this fat freak in this corner. You fat fuck, I'm not fuck your ass out. You hear me? You hear me? We got problem, man. You guys in my neighborhood, man. You guys in here with my fucking grandson. Get your ass off my face. You punk fuckers. You punk arrogant bastards, you. And this is gonna be my last say. But I'll say it to you. You fucking assholes that came from somewhere else that were not fucking born here. Shit together. Man, shut the fuck up and get the fuck out of my face. Shut the fuck up. Don't say another fucking word to me, dude.
He's right, kids. Let him go, man. He's right.
Come on, man. Get your bag. Shut up, dude. Get your bag. Hey, man, get your bag. Go get your bag. Man, let him get his bag. Let him get his bag.
I will. You need to
Let
go
him
away.
get his. Go
You need
get
to
your
go
bag.
away.
Go get your bag.
Go away.
Go get your bag.
I'll leave your bags in here, man.
But don't you fucking try to
Come on,
slam
don't
no
put your
door
hands
out.
on him, bro.
Dude,
Come on.
I'll
Don't
fuck
put
all
your
that
hands
on
on him,
you.
right? You know, this is a beauty that's here.
That's
You know, we got homeless people. We got homeless people sleeping out on this beach. We had a brother that got killed by a Latino guy. Y'all let the guy go. They hired the guy to kill him. And that's all in vain. And I addressed that to this meeting 3 years ago.
Gather together and start the meeting back where it is.
If the guy was white, y'all would have been up in Venice Beach representing him. But he was a black guy. You're not gonna come up to Venice Beach and represent him. Thank you. You know, I'm just saying to you, get your community together because there's more than white people that live here. Thank you. And you may not want to hear that, but I'm telling you the truth. That's why we have problems in society for today. Because, you know why? Because you have no representation as a culture.
Thank you. Thank you for saying
You know, and it's a lot of people suffering on Venice Beach, living out there homeless. None of y'all homeless. Come out there and see what the problem is, and talk to the community instead of sitting your ass on them benches doing shit. Thank you.
so. You know, a young black man was shot yesterday. There's a lot of hurt.
But why is that directed at us? No. We're from Venice, and we're sitting here taking part in this meeting.
All right, welcome back. The 5-minute recess is over. Okay. And that was just the agenda, my God. Shh. All right. We're in VNC announcements and reports. President RAC this month, the West Side Regional Area Councils, because of the second week, third week, all of that stuff, they met last week. The third Wednesday was last week, the third Tuesday is this week. So there's a few motions that I couldn't report on to them because they're on for this meeting, one of them. So I have no announcements except to say that this board was elected for 2 years and we got trapped into a third year. So aside from being not paid for 2 years, we're not paid for 3 years. But that's not why people do this. And I'd just like to say that every time we've had a meeting that went to 10, 11, we've always kept quorum and we've always had everybody here. So whatever the political standings, everybody is committed to working for the community. So I'd just like to thank everybody for that. All right, Vice President Rack, I already mentioned. Lank, Ivan, you are Los Angeles Neighborhood Council Coalition. That's the whole city. Nothing? Okay. Well, you're going to talk about the election. I have a bunch of stuff on election. You're out here. Yeah, if you have no line,
Okay, so we're almost there, folks. The elections are on June 2nd. And we expect all of you are going to come out and vote, right? Yeah. So for those of you that heard what these gentlemen were saying and are angry about the current board, you don't think they represent them, come on and vote and throw them out. Yeah, it is. That's what we used to say in Brooklyn. Throw the bums out if you don't like them. Okay. All right. So, first of all, if there are any candidates here, please stand up. Let everybody see you. All right. Candidates. All right. We're going to start. No, don't sit down yet. Stand up. Stand up. All right. I'm going to start at the end here. Candidates, just say your name and what office you're running for.
Jamie Page, Community Officer.
Robert Thibodeau, Community Officer.
Hugh Harrison, Treasurer.
John Reed, Community Officer.
Thank you, Mr.
Jim Perez, Community Officer.
Melissa Diner, Secretary.
Ira Kozlo, President.
Joe Francisco, Vice President.
Hi. Holly Stenson, President.
Michael Greco, Community Officer.
Jocelyn Williams, Outreach.
Alex Liebman, Community Officer. Matt Royce, Community Officer. Justin Brezhnev, Community Officer.
Okay.
CJ Cole, Community Officer.
Travis Barron, Community Officer.
Angela McGregor, community officer.
Grant Turk, Vice President.
Michael Sugarman, Community Officer. Okay, anyone here?
Stephen Kostarewski, Outreach Chair.
Okay.
Megan Fitzgerald, Community Officer.
Community Officer. Jim Rock, Community Officer.
Okay, did I get everybody? Okay, no, yes, okay. These are your candidates, everybody, come on out and vote for them. Okay, so, some of the stuff we've been up to that you're gonna see starting to happen. We've ordered some lawn signs. Those are gonna go up either tomorrow or Thursday around Venice. Come on out, coming out to vote. We are designing, the city is not giving out I voted stickers this year, so we're designing our own with the Venice logo on it. It says I voted. Okay. I have the events first. So we have some events coming up. It's an opportunity for the voters to meet the candidates and hear what they have to say. The first one is this Thursday in 2 days at the Waterfront Cafe down on Oceanfront Walk. It's right off of Rose Avenue, and you can park in the big lot there. There's the beach lot. You know, at 6 o'clock, you can park in the beach lot. Come on in, it's like a mixer. You can buy drinks, you can buy food, but most importantly, you can meet the candidates and talk with them one-on-one, okay? Next week, the more important thing, we have 2 candidate forums this year because we've got 45 candidates. There's no way to do them all in the same night with, you know, without giving them only 5 seconds to talk. So on Tuesday, the 28th, 1 week from tonight, here at 6 o'clock, we're having the executive officers, which are President, Vice President, Secretary, Treasurer, Outreach, Communications, and Land Use Chair. On Thursday, the 30th, we're having the community officers, and there are about 35 of them. And they'll all come in as a group, also here at 6 o'clock. Come out, listen to what they have to say. They'll have literature out. You'll be able to talk to them a little bit before or after and find out who you want to vote for, because there's a lot of them. Okay? Next, these are hitting the streets today. I know I got mine already. So if you see this in front of your door, it's not garbage. We may think it's garbage, but it's not garbage. Okay? This is our new voter guide. It's got all the information I just gave you, but inside, it's got pictures and candidate statements of all the candidates. So this is another way to find out who to vote for. Okay? Don't throw them out. You can circle it and bring it into the poll if you want to do that. All right? Candidates. I have a whole bunch of these postcards left. I'll take them because we can do already. I want to get them out for you to hand out and check off your name. Okay? And those, we also have these. I tell everybody to take a bunch of these and start getting them out. These are bookmarks. 6,000 of them at the library, they're stuffing them in the books, okay? They're all over the library, they need to be spread out all over the community. So there's a bunch back here, I have like thousands of them. Please take them, spread them around, okay? We need publicity for the election. At the election, which will be on Sunday the 2nd at Oakwood Park, okay? The election is from 10 in the morning until 6 in the afternoon. Anybody who's in line at 6 o'clock will get to vote. So if you, and the line, there are going to be like 15 people behind the desk there checking people in. So it moves fairly quickly. Last time at 6 o'clock, we had about 300 people in line. It took about 40 minutes for the last one to get in. So it's not like you're waiting there for 6 hours, okay? If you see the line, just get in the line. Don't run away, okay? Because it's really important that you vote. And I usually go out and entertain the troops and tell jokes. Not that you want to hear it, but okay? We need you to come out and vote. The neighborhood council's relevance depends on the number of votes that we get. We have had the last 3 elections, the highest stakeholder voter turnout in the entire city. Okay? We're divided into regions. There are like 11 regions in the city. We had a higher voter turnout than any other single region combined. Okay? That's how far ahead we are. And we really want to keep it going. All right? We have 2,700 voters, which is almost as much as Mike Bonenkai. Okay? That's how well the Venice community turns out. So please, tell your friends, have parties, walk them over to the poll. You can do that. Like I said, 6 o'clock, anyone who's in line will get to vote. It's really important we do that because the city council has a way of saying, yeah, well, how many people showed up at your election? And when people say, oh, 50 or 70, you know, they go, yeah. And when you walk up and say 2,700, their eyes open up. Okay? So it's really important that the community come out and support the election, no matter who you vote for. Okay? I think I did everything. What else? Anything else? Oh, social media. The social media campaign started today. Those of you on Facebook, you're going to be getting ads for the events I just told you about. We're going to be doing Instagram, we're going to do Twitter, we're going to do... Anybody else have any other ideas? Let me know, we're working on it. Okay. Oh, at the election, if there's anybody that can't get out of the car, all right, the handicapped, whatever, there'll be a sign with a phone number. If you call that number, they will come out and let you vote in your car. So for those of you that have people, you know, that can't get out, they're covered. Okay? What's that? Well, they won't come out for that. Okay? There isn't a lot of parking. It's a bike and a scooter and whatever you need to do. Okay? Huh? That's what I just said. Well, it's the same thing. There's no priority. It's just if you can't get out of the car, you get to vote in your car. Okay. I know it's one of the things. Oh, okay. Last thing. So Venice has always been a very contentious community for whatever reason. And I've been here a long time, you think about the things that were really contentious when I first started like 12 years ago. Now nobody even knows, like the whole Lincoln Place thing that went down. You know, that took us up for a couple of years. Those of you who've been around will remember that. All right? So we're asking, please, no negative campaigning. All right? It doesn't do you anything. It turns voters off. It makes us seem smarmy, which we're not. Okay, this is the best neighborhood council in the city. So please, keep everything clean, be positive, all right, candidates, please be positive, talk about what you're gonna do and what your vision is, all right, not dragging down anyone else. Okay. Joe, you have anything? Yeah.
Yeah, I heard you just say that you were going to be here, but it's...
No, the candidate forums will be here. The election is at Oakwood Park. In the gym, okay? That's it. Please grab these. all right.
Thank you, Ira.
Grab the election material and start passing it out.
All right. Taylor Baisley, do you have a report? He is Councilman Bonham's representative for Venice.
There he is.
Well, he's got a big box in front of him.
Wait, this is new.
Just came out today. Hey,
And Dee Dee's on the front.
meeting's on the front. He's our legendary,
Yeah, heck yeah. Wow, okay. This is a full house. This is great. I love this. It's a meeting before the election, so I kind of anticipated it. There's some good things on the agenda, but this is great. Okay, well, sorry. I'll keep my update pretty brief, but there are some really exciting things that I think people in this room are going to be interested to hear about. On the Oceanfront Walk area, lots of really cool stuff. We are repainting all the vendor spaces and move some around to make sense. That's going to actually do wonders. It's not just a new paint job, it's going to be very helpful in actually controlling that one vendor has one booth and give a little bit more order to the Oceanfront Walk, which I think will be a big benefit. We're trimming all 780 palm trees in Venice Beach. That's some good Venice Beach trivia for you. Yeah, okay, I'll take that. Yeah, you can tell people who visit, like, how many palm trees do you think there are? And I know it's 780, which is way more than I expected. Way more. But then when you actually look at it, you can see that they are doubled up and tripled up, so makes some sense. Also on Oceanfront Walk, Muscle Beach is finally getting a facelift. This is big because I know that since I started 3.5 years ago this job, I get a couple of very deserved complaints about the state of Muscle Beach, how the equipment is all rusted, how the pads are gross, how it's fallen apart, and this is sad because it used to be such an icon. Well, it's all getting redone. All the equipment's going to be new. The pads are going to be new. It's going to be repainted. The door's getting redone. It's like what we did at the paddle tennis courts about a year ago, where we redid all the paddle tennis courts, and they look great now. Muscle Beach is going to look like that again, which I think is like really exciting. So those three things, all in Oceanfront Walk, is. Some of those have already happened. Some of them are happening soon. Wrap it up, Jim. Muscle Beach should happen within a month. The palm trees, has anyone seen that happening yet? No, not yet. Then within like a week, a couple days even. And I know that the repainting of the vendor spaces has already started. Do you know if it's completed? I haven't been out there to look. 3/4 of the way done. Or I'm hearing done over here from. So. Okay, yeah, which I think is really exciting. And then also, somewhat related, the Venice Pier is all squared away and all whatnot. Folks wouldn't necessarily know about the drama on the back end, but we had to get Coastal Commission approval, this, that, and the other. But that's a $5 million investment to keep the pier from falling in the ocean. So there we go. I've talked about it a couple times, but it's been kind of an evolving thing. Now it's fully permitted. Construction's going to start right after Labor Day. They'll start, I think, September 11th or maybe September 3rd. I know Labor Day is September 2nd, but I think it's a couple days after September 2nd. So I usually take questions at the end because I hang out back there and people come up and chat with me and whatnot. A couple other big things. So there really are that many that have kind of all come online recently. Some people might have noticed that the VERA Davis Center is under construction right now. That's really big. It is under construction. It's supposed to last 3 or 4 months of construction. It's a $1.6 million complete facelift to the center. The center has been in derelict repair for the last decade or two. Just no one's maintained it. The deferred maintenance there has been incredible. But what is happening is we're redoing the floors, we're redoing the bathrooms, the kitchen, the walls, the doors and the windows, and all the re-landscaping all the front, and then putting a decorative fence around the side. So that is ongoing, as some people have seen. It started maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. And that is going to be huge. The center is going to look beautiful, exactly more what it was supposed to look like when it was dedicated decades ago. And again, folks will be able to start meeting there. It's going to be a community meeting place that folks actually want to use once again. So that one I'm really excited for. Let's see. I think that was kind of the main couple things. One thing that y'all can put on your calendar that's happening this month, which lots of people came together for, that I'm particularly excited about, is also on Abbott Kinney. We're going to be installing a rainbow crosswalk, which I am particularly excited about, for the 50th anniversary of Stonewall. Stonewall, of course, being the incident that sparked the modern LGBT civil rights movement. Their anniversary is June 28th. Yeah, that's off the Stonewall. So to mark that 50th anniversary, we're putting in a rainbow cross leading right into Roosterfish. So that is, yeah, heck yeah, right? And that's really exciting. A lot of people came together to make it happen. It still needs a little bit of extra funding. I think that's an item that's going to maybe appear in front of VNC for VNC to sponsor. But Supervisor Kuehl sponsored, Councilmember Bonin sponsoring, David Weiss is sponsoring, Roosterfish is sponsoring, Snapchat put in a little bit of money. I know, I knew when I said it, but I'm recognizing the sponsors because it's not saying, it's just the money. I think there's one or two others. Hopefully the VNC comes in, and it's just an exciting thing, like a rainbow crosswalk. They do these around the country. There's one in West Hollywood. Ours is going to look much better than the West Hollywood one. It's modeled after the one in the Castro in San Francisco, which looks really good. Well, any specific pothole we usually get filled within a day or two, so I'll talk to you afterwards about one that you probably have in your mind. So if it's on like the one on Lincoln that I hit every day, that's Caltrans. There's somewhere things can be different depending on where it is. But anyhow, that was a long-winded update because lots is happening, and over the next couple months, there's actually a lot more coming online that I'd be excited to update you on. So that was my update. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yolanda, VNC representative for LAPWP and the gas company.
Yes. Thank you very much. I want to thank this board for being so good for the past 3 years. It's been wonderful to be working with all of you. Anyway, to go up to them and ask them to come and give us presentations. They come up to me and ask me, what can we do for you? And that's really good because they really take this community into consideration. He's a civil engineer, and he's going to give us a presentation on the Hyperion Initiative, in which all of you I know are very interested. And Chris, can you come up and...
Yolanda, yes. If you look at the agenda, there is a place for him on the agenda. You're skipping him, a few people.
Oh.
Okay? I'll call on when it's time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No big deal.
Anyway,
Yes.
I have another program, and when immediately they told me about it, I jumped on it because I myself have benefited from it for my tenants. And this is a wonderful program in which this community could benefit. Last time, about 3 years ago, we had the representative from Casa Maravilla come out and beg people that this is a program that we all contribute to. If you look at your bill, tenants pay into it, landlords pay into it. So this is a program by cents that keeps accumulating, and you are entitled based on your income, even if you own a home. A person who gets maybe $16,000, $20,000 in SSI benefits, Social Security benefits. This is a wonderful program. It includes the following. You will be getting a new refrigerator if you get it. You will be getting a microwave, new furnaces. A lot of our homes here have floor furnaces. By insurance, if you still have them, you're supposed to be removing them if you have a problem or if you have a fire. So they come in and remove those floor furnaces and put in. They will seal and they will weatherize the stripping into your homes. I spoke to the person who originally was in charge of Venice, but they've assigned a new person. I was on the telephone with her today, and I got her name, and she's going to be contacting me because she's out of town. But when the new board comes in, we're going to have a booth out there, and you, if you think you qualify, there's a minimum up to $45,000 to $65,000 depending on the property, depending on the tenant, but it's the landlord that really needs to put together the information. I'm going to help you out this time. I know I've done it, and we're in need. There are people in this community that are in need of this program. So please, and when the new board gets in, I'm going to have the person who represents this area. We're going to qualify you, and you're going to benefit from this program, okay? Another thing, that you could trip up to the lakes to see where our water comes from. Unfortunately, I think they filled up already. But anybody who, especially the board, if you get elected, you qualify to get on this trip and benefit from seeing how our water gets into the city of Los Angeles. It's a beautiful trip, it's all free, first class accommodations, but the minute I find out if there's an opening, we're gonna make it available for the board to go on this trip. And if you want to take your one member of the family, you just have to pay for it. But I'm going to be on top of it so all of you can have a benefit of this program, okay? Thank you very much.
Hugh, do you have any budget advocate stuff?
No.
Good. I mean, okay. Holly Stenson, Outreach.
Hi, everyone. Ivan pretty much covered the outreach events that we have coming up. Again, just to repeat, we have a candidate mixer meet and greet on Thursday at the Waterfront Venice from 6 to 9 p.m. And then next week, Tuesday and Thursday here at this school, 7 p.m. I believe each night, the candidate forum. So we look forward to seeing all of you there. And finally, I just want to commend the outreach committee for doing such an amazing job working with the elections committee and really cranking everything out over the last few weeks to help get this off the ground and inform the public, and for being a wonderful committee. That's Evan White, Jocelyn Williams, Nick Antonicello, Kat Karimi, Katie Bogart, Alex Neiman, Justine Larson, Justin Brezhnev, Michael Sugarman, and Alex Poe. So thank you for being a wonderful committee.
Very good. Janet Turner just walked in. We'll give her a minute.
Good evening, Janet Turner with Congressman Ted Lieu. Thank you so much for squeezing me in. I just came from another neighborhood council. So best wishes from Congressman Ted Lieu. He has been very busy in Washington, and I'll try to be brief. First, I want to make sure everyone knows we've moved our district office. We are now in the West Los Angeles Municipal Building, which is at 1645 Corinth Avenue, Suite 101. That's the same office as Mike Bonin. We're going to be having an open house in July. When I come back next month, I'll tell you more about that, and I hope you'll come and stop by. The Congressman was happy to celebrate on May 17th the House passage of the Equality Act. This Equality Act, H.R. 5, says that no American will be denied housing, employment, the ability to attend school, or the opportunity to buy a home because of who they love or how they identify themselves. Also on May 7th, who are trying to hinder a woman's right to choose. In his statement, he said, women are entitled to one of the handouts. We mentioned that the congressman joined Feinstein and Harris in introducing a bill to allow the LA Armory to be turned into a full-time shelter. So we're optimistic that that is going to happen. And then on the other side of that page is on May 13th, the House passed a natural disaster funding bill, which would give $19.1 billion in disaster relief to those communities hurt by natural disasters. This would include the victims of the Woolsey fire. So that was very important, especially if you know anybody who was devastated by that horrible fire. And then just for your reading, bedtime reading, I have included Congressman Liu led 90 members of the House in a resolution to outline the need for bold, job-creating investments, primarily in infrastructure. And this tells you some of the many ways that the House would like to go ahead and implement that. So as I said, we've been very busy. Our office is always available to help with your USPS problems. If you need to communicate with any federal agency, like the IRS, Social Security, Medicare, if you're having problems, communicating a problem with them, we're happy to be the intermediary and get that message directly to them. I'm sorry it took us so much time.
Yeah. Colleen, who had a minute for Oceanfront Walk. She's the chair of the Oceanfront Walk Committee.
So, if anyone doesn't already know, by Memorial Day weekend, DOT has instructed all the devices are not allowed and the bike path. So, I was Councilman Bonner's office, and I went to DOT, and it went through. All the device companies know it. If anyone sees a violation, please feel free to contact me, email me. Even if I'm out of office next month, I'll roll it over to the next chair, because this is where the city of LA is going to get on this pilot program all the violations. And if they violate that, specifically those two places, permits could get pulled. So please, someone came up to me and they said, well, you want us to police it. Well, if you're going to complain, I'm saying take a photo, send it to me. You don't have to send it to anybody else. I will send it to the companies and to 311 and to Mike's office. That's all you have to do. And then that's going to help us regulate it. And we're hoping now, the next step is the canals. We're working on the canals. And some other motions are going to come through, and hopefully the next Social Walk chair will take that over. I have an amazing committee. I want to thank them so much. I'm sorry, I'm a little discombobulated right now from earlier. Something I need to say is we're all part of this community. And all of us live in this community, and some of us have been here for generations, not me, but some other people. No one knows what anyone else is going through in their life. Everybody should have empathy and kind of understand. And I know that people get upset and say things, but I just need to say that, okay? Because people have no idea what everybody else is going through, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. That was great. All right, next we have the road to the 2020 census, a presentation by Marie-Chris Treese. Oh, there. I guess they didn't make it. All right. It wasn't a political presentation. It was, are they running it? The weatherization program. Oh, all right, so then we have Chris Rip.
Can you hear me okay? It's kind of going in and out a little. So hello everyone, thanks for having me out tonight. My name is Chris Rep. I work for LA Water and Power. And I work in the Water Resources Division and essentially the groundwater wing of that division. So I don't get it out, make it out to Venice too often. It's a nice place. I actually live in Orange County, so don't hate for that, okay? But it's good to be out here tonight, and I think you're gonna appreciate what I have to say. So So over the past several months, we've been actively studying, if you go to the next slide. So we've been actively studying the feasibility of maximizing recycled water from the Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant and using that advanced purified water to replenish the West Coast and Central Groundwater basins, okay, which is about the southern half of the city. So as you'll see, this new initiative has the potential to dramatically increase the city's local water supply and overall resiliency, okay? And it is projected that the program will provide about a third of the city's supply and allow us to begin to build up a good deal of storage in the case of emergencies. So before we get to talking about that, I'd like to kind of mention the broader approach that the water system's taken to developing local water supplies. So we've had targeted planning efforts that are looking at the various aspects of local water supply. We've looked at recycled water and conservation, stormwater capture. We've even looked at developing groundwater in the San Fernando Basin. So what we find out from Hyperion and these efforts will feed into our local water supply goals moving forward, essentially. Next slide. So there's been a tremendous push in getting Hyperion going and developing local water supply. I'm sure you've heard of the Mayor's Executive Directive number 5, which is developing local water supplies. We've had internal efforts on strategic planning goals internally. Of course, what kind of prompted this presentation is the Mayor's announcement on the 21st to maximize the recycled water out of the Hyperion treatment plant by 2035, essentially. So, and of course, the Green New Deal just came out, and that mandated that we, instead of sourcing 50% of our local water supply, that we increase that to 70 by 2035. So this is one of the ways that we're going to do that through Hyperion. And lastly, it's really sound business to use and consider underutilized resources that can be repurposed for local water supply. Next slide. So this is kind of a plug for our recycled water team, and it's basically a much smaller scale project, but very similar in concept to what we're talking about at Hyperion. So this will take tertiarily treated water from the Don C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant, pipe it through an existing pipe into the spreading grounds of the valley. The water percolates into the ground, it's treated there and further, and then the water is eventually pumped out in our existing groundwater wells. So same general concept, what we're talking about. Next slide. You can just see the alignment here. I don't need to dwell on this, but it uses an existing 54-inch line, and it'll provide about 3,500 acre-feet of water. Now, for those who don't know, an acre-foot of water is about a football field size area, about a foot high. So it's about 330,000 gallons. And the city uses about just shy of 500,000 acre-feet in a year. Total demand for the city. So just to put it in perspective, I'll touch on that a bit more. So next slide. So what we're talking about here, and what you see, of course, is the map of the city. And the red line here represents the Santa Monica Ridge line. Okay, so we're talking about serving basically the southern half of the city with advanced treated water from Hyperion. And, when you think about a Mulholland moment, William Mulholland, and a third aqueduct, this is what this looks like. This is a really big deal. And the takeaway from the mayor's press conference is that this will put us on the path to water independence, okay? And it'll not only make the city more sustainable, but by building water storage, it'll provide a hedge against the impacts of climate change and drought. And it'll make it so that we're not so concerned about such wide swings in hydrology from the water we get from the Eastern Sierras. We have a really wet year this year. We've had extended droughts. And it'll make it so that we're not so worried about droughts. There's no more droughts in LA if we accomplish something like this. So while we're on this slide, I kind of want to talk about how our system operates a little, just to give you some context. So most of our water that we get and use in the city comes from kind of the upper western portion of the city up there in Silmar. We have the LA Aqueduct filtration plant. And the water generally feeds kind of by gravity down throughout the city, more or less. Okay, so this initiative actually completely changes that fundamental dynamic, where we're now pushing water uphill. So it's a tremendous challenge for the water system to do this, and it's going to require a significant investment to do that. All right, next slide. So, there's 450,000 acre feet of available storage in the West Coast and Central groundwater basin. So you see the West Coast sort of on the lower left and the Central Basin on the upper right there. And these two basins are managed by the Water Replenishment District of Southern California. They're the basin manager. They make sure that the basins have enough water, that the water levels are staying appropriate, that they're getting replenished. You know, the water's replenishing the basins, and you know they're monitoring contamination and so on. So they're a very critical partner in this initiative. So what would maximizing recycled water from Hyperion look like? You know, how much flow is available? And how would this impact current operations? What does it cost? And really the biggest challenge here is, you can go to the next slide. The biggest challenge is what do you do with that much water? So this is really, it's 200 million gallons per day of water we're talking about, potentially 200,000 acre feet. And to be able to deal with that much water, you gotta have storage. And the only way to store water locally is going to be through the groundwater basins. So the concepts that we're looking at here, concepts 1 and 2 kind of represent the big large scale of what we're talking about. And concept 1 is taking that recycled water, conveying it to the Central Basin, which goes up towards concept 2, kind of where that purple cross is, injecting the water, extracting it, treating it, and then putting it into our system. And that's what we're talking about. And concepts 3 or 4 are much smaller scale projects. You know, as we do this, we really have to consider water in the whole region. You know, if we can leverage assets from other water agencies, not just ours, we can save the customers money in the long run. So that's really the idea. Okay. So this is a plan view of the Hyperion treatment plant. And really, again, tremendous challenge. And this, converting this facility to a full advanced treatment it really stands to change the DNA of this very facility. And as DWP, it's incumbent upon us to make sure that the water is treated appropriately, that the treatment technology is the best available, so that we have good quality water. And the big challenge about this is this all has to be done while the facility remains in operation. So it's a huge deal. You can go to the next slide. So again, kind of going over these concepts in a little more detail. So we're taking recycled water from Hyperion, we're conveying it to the Central Basin. So this is about an 8-foot diameter, 15-mile long pipeline, huge pipeline. 100 plus injection wells, around the same amount of extraction wells, treatment, you know, potentially treating contaminated groundwater, and then piping it into our system. And like I was saying, it may not be so simple as just, you know, piping it to the nearest pipe in our system, because to be able to deal with that much water, we're going to have to go to a main artery to actually move the water. So that's really what we're talking about. And WRD is a critical partner. Next slide. Okay, so big slide here, big cost. This is a tremendous program, and it comes with it a tremendous cost, $8 billion, okay? And when you think about that, you know, that's a lot of money. But when you look at the sheer quantity of water we're talking about, and the capital investments and the life cycle cost of all those capital investments, it really looks a lot like our existing recycled water projects and the cost for those. And it compares very favorably with the Metropolitan Water District purchases. So the cost of imported water is just going up, and it's going to be very important that we rely on local water. And that's really the whole spirit of this project. And of course, we're gonna pursue, you know, all manner of different types of funding and outside funding, you know, federal and state grants and loans, securitized funds, bonds, and our partners and regional partners will certainly share a burden of this, and they participate. So next slide. Okay, looks like my schedule got twisted around a little there. So we have a vision and a goal set for us to complete this project by 2035. Okay, so that's a pretty aggressive goal. You know, that's a lot of work to be done over just 15 years. So this is a major program. And this is highly dependent upon the regulatory framework for direct potable reuse, our ability to secure outside funding, and also the establishment of a collaborative framework to work with other agencies. So to be able to get going on this and see this through. So, DWP, we do some bid projects, but we do most of them largely ourselves, right? We do work with other agencies and within the city, but most of them we do ourselves. So this isn't really one of those projects. This is a program where we're going to have to work with others, given the size, scale, and complexity of it. We have a very complex groundwater governance structure, and we're going to have to do that. And we've already begun. So we have a number of different contracts that we're working on. The groundwater development augmentation plan really looks at how the city can inject and extract water, from a more technical standpoint. We've partnered with the Water Replenishment District, again, the basin manager in this area for the groundwater basins, to really, and one of our managers describes it like this. He says, all the infrastructure in these groundwater basins in this area is kind of like all the dots, all the pipes and pumps. So let's take all those dots and throw them on the table and figure out how to best connect them to leverage greatest benefit for the city and for our partners. Okay, so we can make our dollars go farther and make the right good financial decisions. And that's what we're talking about. So we have, we're working on an MOU with LA City Sanitation on the advanced treatment at Hyperion. We are working on demonstration projects and pilot projects to prove the technology, make sure it's what we want to go with, right, and test it out. We're obviously working with a lot of other agencies. The Metropolitan Water District, which is our main water wholesaler, has their own plans for a recycled water project out of the other major wastewater treatment facility in the region, the Carson Joint Plant. So it's going to be very important that we kind of work collaboratively with all these other agencies to make sure that we're doing things right by all of our customers. Yeah, and there's lots of other cities, Long Beach, Torrance. There's a number of different contract agencies that actually discharge sewage to Hyperion that may want to be involved and have some piece of this as well. So there's just a lot of players, and it's important that we approach this methodically and make sure we do it the right way so that we can involve everyone on this and everyone that wants to be involved and make it work. And of course, public perception is a huge deal. And we've come a long way in the perception of recycled water the past couple decades. We had the Recycled Water Advisory Group for many years, but it's going to be very important that we can have a continuous and consistent outreach strategy to educate folks and make sure that we have input from the public on this. Okay, and this last slide here just shows, it kind of exemplifies the sheer number of entity laws involved on this, and I think we're all up to the challenge. So with that, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Hugh Harrison has a bunch of treasurer's reports. One thing to remind everybody, we are mandated by the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment to take roll call votes on anything to deal with money. You.
All right, first up are 7A and B. These are the monthly expenditure reports. This is for the month of March. We spent slightly less than $2,000 during that month. Most of the expenses were our usual routine expenses, although we we had our first major expense for the election, which had to do with the candidate meet and greet. And other than that, there's nothing that's out of the ordinary in the report, and I would move to approve the reports.
Second. George seconds. A and B. Yeah, we'll take a roll call, please.
Comment? Can there be comment? Ira?
You're right. Any public comments?
Yeah, I just want to...
Wait. There's no public comment.
I had a question. I know I had asked for this budget a while back and I never received a copy of it. I'm a little confused because I see that there is money paid out for music, and I assume this is for the Hootenanny event. When we did our Sounds at the Shore through Oceanfront Walk, we were told we could not pay any performers. So I would just like a clarification on that, please. Because all the performers we had played for free.
Okay.
I don't have an answer as to why you were told that. All of these expenditures were sent through the city clerk's office, and they approved all of them for the hootenanning. So, again, I really don't have an answer for you.
Okay, just to clarify, we were told that at AdCom. So I just kind of wanted to clear it out so any future events that happen through the VNC, no matter what committee is heading it, they are allowed to pay.
Well, again, I can't speak for what the city clerk will do at any moment to get.
Thank you.
Any other board comment? All right, let's have a roll call vote. Oh.
George?
Yes.
Hugh?
Yes.
I vote yes. Melissa, Justin?
Yes.
Matthew? Royce? Evan White?
Yes.
Robert Trudeau?
Yes.
Brad Aaron's? Cindy Chambers? Alex Neiman?
Yes.
Jocelyn Williams? Jamie Page? Alana Morosi? Holly Stinson?
Yes.
Michelle Meekbos?
Yes.
James Ramirez? John Reed?
Yes.
Colleen Zorro?
No.
Michael Greco?
Yes.
Cindy Bach? Okay. 16-1-1.
Thank you. 7C.
7C relates to the expenditures for the election. We have already approved these expenditures in a general sense. The voter guide, we made a specific vote, but we didn't have a breakdown by the various categories. And so, Budget Committee asked the election committee to submit a second motion that breaks out where the money's being spent. So from the election committee and the budget committee, we're asking for approval of these particular expenses for the ones we've already approved for the election.
Do you have a second? George, second. Any comment? Any board comment? 7C.
Yes.
Sure. Tell me.
So I'm just curious as to how does a person find the graphic artist? Is that something that has to go through the city? I mean, who approves that? Because I'll be honest with you, I could have gotten a graphic artist to do this for like $300. And actually, the guy that designed our banner for Sounds of the Shore, he did it for free. So I'm just curious as to what the stipulation for that was.
There was no, well, I'll actually turn that over to Ivan because it was election committee. I just submit the numbers, I don't.
Oh, okay, so, well, let me tell you how it's happened. The Pines, and she has the template. If we had gone to a new graphic designer and started from scratch, it would have cost a lot more money. We're talking about the voter guide now, it's 8 pages. It's not just a logo or something, okay? We do there's an ex-board member whose name is Kelly Willis, and he's the one that helps assemble the whole thing. Okay, so this is his person, and it's just easier to go with them and get it done. The digital stuff, Michael went to a graphic artist to get that stuff. That's what it means, and the Facebook ads. He went to somebody, and that's what they charge him. So it isn't. It's for a whole bunch of stuff. Okay.
So let me just make a suggestion. I don't know if this is legal through the city, but this is something that we could possibly be taking to our high school and have a donation to the high school, and the kids are learning, and they're very talented and very capable. And maybe we should think about doing that next time, because that's money the school could use, but I don't know if that's a city thing. So maybe y'all should look into that. Thank you.
We can't. We pay students. I mean, you know, they're underage.
And you paid for the template, so you get it. Donation. Yeah.
Quiet down. This is, we're voting on, Ivan, wait a second. We're voting on this now, and I understand everything that the city ever does, everybody has cheaper ways to do it. This is what Ivan did and I appreciate the advice for next time, yes. That's all, I know. Any other board comment? Okay, Lou?
George.
Yes.
Hugh.
Yes.
Melissa, I vote yes. Justin.
Yes.
Matt Royce.
Yes.
Evan White.
Yes.
Robert Thibodeau.
Yes.
Brad Aaron's.
Yes.
Alex Neiman.
Yes.
Jonathan Williams. Jamie Page. Juana Morosi. Holly Stenson. Michelle Miklos. James Mraz. John Reed. Colleen Sorrow. No? Okay. Michael Greco.
Yes.
Okay. 17-1-1.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to be into, after the announcements, public comments tonight is not on the agenda. I just want to know, once we start a particular motion, we don't take any more comment cards. The comment cards have to be in before that. So, because a lot of times people start talking, then all of a sudden, everybody, a lot of people start bringing comment cards. So we don't do that now. If you have a comment on an issue, bring it up just before we're going to, not just before we're going to bring it up. And now we have announcements, public comments on, not on the agenda. Not on the agenda, I'll call them 3 at a time. Margaret Malloy, Jordan Zavaleta, and Judy Goldman.
Hello, everyone. I would like to ask for a moment of respect for the unknown. It's heartache. R.I.P. and blessings to his family.
Okay, started when she was there, but since there was applause, there was silence. So let's have a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. Jordan?
Hello. This issue isn't as serious, but it is a safety concern. It's something that me and my community have been trying to get resolved for years. This is the issue of not having a left turn signal at the intersection of Washington and Via Dolce. And we've been requesting resolve for this for many years now and haven't seen anything happen yet. Because of all the new condo buildings and apartments in Marina Del Rey, there's been a significant increase in residents and traffic. And when there is traffic, that left turn goes back so far that it's unsafe and spilling into the alternating traffic lane. And this isn't only unsafe for drivers, but it's unsafe for pedestrians. There's been a countless number of times that I've seen drivers try to make that left turn unsafely and nearly hitting pedestrians, which is not safe. And the intersection a block east of there at Washington and Ocean, for drivers, it's unsafe for pedestrians, it's very congested.
Okay, thank you. You're repeating yourself. The place to go is Parking and Transportation Committee. They get a lot of stuff done.
Will they take here?
Well, go look on the web. It's okay. Thank you. No, they'll take it up. They really will.
Parking where?
Okay, Judy.
Lemon on behalf of Keep Neighborhoods First. 2013, a group of us concerned citizens got together because Venice was the canary in the coal mine for the short-term rental takeover of our rental housing. And we worked very closely with LUPEC, and then with our council office, then with the entire city council. And recently, a short-term rental motion was passed, and it's going to go into effect July 1st. And I want to remind everybody here that that motion that was passed, that has become law, says that rent-stabilized apartments, units, cannot be put up for short-term rental use. And I want to say that the only short-term rentals can be your primary residence. And I want to thank everybody who helped us get this.
Robin Rudisil, Yolanda Gonzalez, and Patty Peter. Hi.
About this, and I want to ask the board, what is the policy when there is an ethics investigation? Do you do nothing? Do you do your own investigation since it relates to actions in his role as VP? And if so, should he recuse himself during your investigation? There are a lot of questions here, and please don't just sweep this under the rug. Let me put it another way. If you're not concerned about this, we have a bigger issue. And also, people need to be aware, on these speaker cards, whether it's this body or West LA Area Planning Commission or City Council, there's a special place to disclose if you are a paid speaker. And people need to make sure they are aware of that. It's very important.
Yolanda Gonzalez. I was hoping that the person who was going to give the census guide for the 2020 would be here. But I want to make sure that when the new board comes in, that we get a committee, because we want to be part of the redistricting process when this all takes place. We got kicked out last time. And it's really important that this really be taken into consideration for not only for the census, but the redistricting process that takes place. And not somebody else is going to make a decision for us and who comes in, what comes in, and who gets elected. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it. Oh, Peter, yes.
Hello, I just wanted to get up here so I could speak. That's all. No, I'd really like to thank everyone for showing up tonight. This is one of the meetings that I've noticed that we've had quite a good turnout. I hope that's something to do with the vote. I would personally like to thank all the members on the board for their years of service. This is, they do it for free, and all the bullshit they get, that's for free too. And so if you're going to be running for office for my community, please take it seriously, and please check yourself that you're not doing this for some of your own personal motives and benefits, because us locals will root you out and make it tough on you one way or the other. But anyways, besides that, thank you all for participating.
Beth Allen, Arturo Gonzalez, and Mark Rado. Come to the front if I called your name, please.
These are general comments, right? All right, I don't see it on here, so I'm going to mention right now. I read somewhere that you all had thought about creating a scooter lane in connection to the bike lane. Nick, you've been trying to keep that bike path clean for decades, and we can't do that. So really, Colleen's right. We've got to do something about the scooters. They should not be on there. Please do not create a separate lane. If you can't keep the bike lane we have now in working function, we can't definitely keep another lane. Thank you.
We passed three motions against the scooters on the bike path, on the ocean.
No, there was something on Facebook that went around social media saying that you all were considering creating or recommending to the city.
Yeah, Facebook is false news. We never were
But you
considering.
spent $1,000 to do advertising, so it's obviously of some value.
All right.
Right?
Thank you.
You're
I just
Can I just say something real quick, Ira, just so there's not, everything's clear? It was a motion that was brought to my committee. My committee's looking at that motion. Beth, our committee, Oceanfront Walk, it's coming from an outside source. The committee is gonna look at that next week at our meeting. And if it goes through, then you will see it here. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't, okay?
Thank you. Just my luck. I'm going to be talking about scooters. My name is Arturo Gonzalez, and I am with Urban Strategy Group. We represent Wheels e-scooters, and I would like to be asked you if we can include our company for your next meeting in June, so we can come before you and answer any questions that you might have. As you know, as part of the Department of Transportation Community Engagement, we are obligated to meet with every neighborhood council where we operate. And as such, I do want to thank and commend Colleen Cerro for reaching out to us and telling us that there was a problem along the Oceanfront Walk. And Colleen, we would like to come before your committee and make sure that we give you and this community all the deserving requests that you will have compared to us serving this community to the best of our ability.
Thank you. Todd Von Hoffman, Darrell DeFay, and Elizabeth Wright.
I'm Mark Rego. I'd like to reiterate what Peter said. If you mess with the community, there's repercussions. Michael Greco, running for the VNC again next week. Great article about you in the Beachhead. You can check this out, all about the Venice Restaurant Group, about what you think about the locals and the community. You're embarrassed. George Francisco, you're what? You're accused of 5 bribe taking, soliciting gifts, paying speakers, what, $5,000? Are you going to pay people next week to vote for you? Is that how you do things? What's going on, George?
Todd, not Todd, and Darrell.
I signed up for 13 A&G. You know what I'm saying?
All right, it's okay. Liz. Chris Baca.
Elizabeth Wright. People are out walking again at night in their dark outfits, black preferably, and the only thing you see are the white soles on their shoes. You look under the table, you'll see. Drivers can't see you. Please, 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 we're white, we're reflective.
I'm Chris Baca, Executive Director I'm Chris Baca, Executive Director of Meals on Wheels West, and we deliver here in Venice, west of Lincoln. And we're trying to be part of the solution, so anybody who has somebody who's been recently housed, who's formerly homeless, we will provide meals for them for free. Anybody who's a veteran, we'll provide meals for free. So just go on our website and sign up. And it's not just veterans and formerly homeless people who are permanently housed. We'll do people who live in or in transition housing, so we'll do people like that. So just go to our website, give us a call, and we'll try and help people out. That's our job.
That's it for public comment. Now we have general consent calendar. There's one item on this. If nobody chooses to remove this from the consent calendar, it automatically passes. Margaret? Margaret, you want to remove this? It doesn't matter. There's no comment on consent calendar. However, if you want to remove it from the consent calendar, it goes into the general calendar, and then you take it like a regular motion. So that's fine. Margaret, do you want to remove it? Okay, so it'll
It
come
goes
on
for
later.
denial, Mother. It's denied. So why do you want to approve it?
It's all right, safe sidewalk.
Recommended 8-0, safe sidewalk. Go ahead, speak on. Speak on it now. 9A.
9A, yeah, fine. Okay, now. All right, so now we're on to the Lupic consent calendar. Generally, when there's something that's, has zero things on it, we leave it on that. Yeah, they want to. So, yes, Robin.
10A.
10A, all right, Paul. And Margaret?
10E.
10E, okay. 10A and 10E go into.
10A is denied. I want to.
Everybody will get a chance to talk on all of those issues that were pulled. It's fine.
Okay, I'm withdrawing my 10A. Thank you.
10A has been pulled, and it goes into that, regular and the rest of the consent calendar passes. Just help.
I had a request from the applicant of 10E. They want to start over with a new design, come back to Lupic.
I'm sorry. We're talking about now what?
10E.
All right, what do you want to do?
They requested to go back to Lupic and start over with a different design. The planning department emailed me and said they would hold the case open until that happened.
Okay.
Can you put that on the website, please?
Sure.
You want to pull it? Yeah. From the agenda.
They requested to pull it and not hear it tonight.
Okay.
It's on the consent.
Going back to Lupic, it's allowed to be there. All right. I understand. Okay. All right, so now we're back to 11A. Somebody's marked it. Matt, will you present 10A? I'll make a motion.
11A, Subject Market. The motion is the VNC Board recommends approval of the project as presented.
Okay, second. Is the presenter here? Please.
Feedback from the public is
Hi. Do you have any questions for me about the project?
Well, first we have to hear what it is. He just made the motion to approve it, and you tell us, just quickly, what are you going to do?
Got it. Okay. So 72 Market Street is a restaurant space that has been owned by Tony Bill since 1984. He leased it out, and the previous tenant did not use the alcohol license, so he's going back in for a conditional use permit. Yes. So he's going back in for a conditional use permit to renew the space as a restaurant space, which it has been permitted as since 1983. He doesn't have a tenant yet, but he's looking for a tenant. So this space is 1,000 square feet of surface area. He has a covenant for parking, 20 parking spaces. Our hearing date is going to be set for July He's gone through outreach. He has about 24 letters of support that we sent to the city planner. We did a community outreach in April, and we had different community members come out that lived in the area, and they seemed supportive of the restaurant coming back, just to kind of reactivate that street. So it'll be a restaurant space again.
Okay, thank you. Public comment cards, Yolanda Gonzalez and Angela McGregor. She's in support, one in support.
But on June 19th, 1988, Jeff McGregor came to my door in Venice and went for a first date at 72 Market Street. And needless to say, it went really well for him that night, and I would be thrilled to be able to go back to 72 Market Street for our 30th anniversary dinner in November of 2021. So I wish you all
Any board comment? Colleen?
Can you say the parking again? Because that went really quick and I didn't quite hear it. Where are they?
He has a covenant for 20 parking spaces. He has a covenant for 20 parking spaces. So it's on, you can enter through Windward. It's right behind his restaurant. And there's lifts there, so he can accommodate more than 20 parking spaces.
Thank you. Any more board comment? I suspect Davey comment sealed the deal. Is there anybody? Really? All right. Roll call.
George?
Yes.
Hugh?
Yes.
Melissa, yes. Justin?
Yes.
Matthew Royce? Evan White? Robert Thibodeau?
Yes.
Brad Aarons? Alex Neiman?
Yes.
Jocelyn Williams? Jamie Page? Alana Morosi? Holly Stetson? Michelle Mipos? James Rice? John Reed?
Yes.
Colleen Sorrow? Michael Greco?
Yes.
1801.
Great, thank you. All right. 11B, Matt.
Okay, 11B, 78 Market Street. Motion is the VNC Board recommends approval of the project with the following conditions. Number one, there'd be a letter of intent for a parking lease for 10-year minimum term, which will be tied to the conditional use permit. The conditional use permit shall be tied to the owner's name and or members of the LLC, which owns the property and any tenant. I think that was it.
George seconds. Is the applicant here? Yes. No. Okay. Matthew, is the applicant here?
I saw them here. I don't know where they went.
All right, we'll wait a minute through, because there's only one. Oh, right. Yeah. Well, there's no one to present it. We have any public comment cards? Okay. Margaret Robin.
You had a motion on the agenda tonight for safe sidewalks. You passed a motion a couple of weeks ago for lane reduction on Pacific because of narrow sidewalks and pedestrian safety, and now you want to put a two-story mixed-use project right on the corner of Market and Pacific.
I think the intensification of use is absurd. I'm not sure that the Venice LCP and specific plan allows second floor commercial use like this. And I think the hypocrisy is amazing, so I'm completely opposed to this project.
Thank you. Lauren?
This project was originally on the consent calendar, and I went to AdCom and asked that it be put on the main agenda, even though it was a unanimous vote, I believe, because of the ZV in the case coding. That is a zone variance, and I just want to make sure you know, if you approve this tonight, you're approving a variance for parking. When they say they're going to have a lease for, I guess it's 9 parking spaces, I'm not sure, Matthew, you can clarify that. That is a variance, an exception. And I just want to make sure everybody understands that and is aware of it, because when you start approving exceptions like this, you set a precedent and then everybody's going to want one, and pretty soon we don't have adequate parking. So make sure somebody explains it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Board comment? Somebody? Colleen?
I just want to say I agree with what Robin just mentioned to the board. I'm a little confused, and I know they're not here, but they should have 20 vehicles. They're going to provide 14, but only 5 on site and 9 off site. So that means it's just going to be going, I would assume, into a neighborhood somewhere. So I hope that the board does not agree with this. Thank you.
Okay.
Me.
Go ahead.
I also have an issue with the parking. We can't start letting restaurants come through underparked. And this expediter has a history of allegedly getting off-site spaces, and their client never ever uses the spaces because they don't actually really exist. So I have a real problem with people saying they're going to lease spaces and they have no intention of doing it, and we all know that goes on, and particularly with these people. So I think we can't trust them, and also the fact that they don't even bother to turn up to present to us. I don't see why we should grease it through, so I'm going to deny it.
I love 72 Market. I love restaurants. I love restaurants that serve alcoholic beverages or adult beverages. However, turning this into now a big restaurant with no parking, I sort of agree with the opposition to this. And I'm surprised with so many questions on this that the applicant didn't show up. Because it'd be nice to hear what they're planning for parking. And this ownership thing and passing it on, did they agree with it or not? So, too many questions. Thank you.
I just think in terms of things that I think the community we represent would want to see in our community, I think rooftop decks would be at the top of the list. I can only think of 2, Hotel Irwin and what's the Whaler, that have actual views of the ocean, and we live on the ocean. I think people that come here as tourists because of the Hollywood image are traditionally disappointed with what they see when they get to Venice Beach. So I think that the overall vision here would be welcomed by not only people that live here, but visitors alike. And whenever the parking issues come up, I think the fact that they're replacing some of the parking with parking should also, with bicycle parking, should also be highlighted, because every day the number of years we have left with, you know, what we continue to do to our planet keeps getting smaller, that I hear in the news. So anything we can do to actually try and have more people encouraged to get out of their cars and walk or bike or use public transit, the better. And I'm not saying that that's exactly what they're saying here, but I think we need to start rethinking how we get cars off the street and stop encouraging people to get in their cars and come and park. So I hope that we'll see the bigger picture here and support this project.
Out of order. Anybody else? Is Matt, is he down there? Matt, do you want to like walk through some of the particulars since the applicants are here and explain anything in terms of the parking?
I don't want to speak for them, but I'll just tell you kind of how the LIBIC meeting went. We were concerned about the parking too. At the meeting, nobody really said anything who lived near the project. And we've had projects in this area come up before. And it's been pointed out that during the night, there's plenty of parking along Pacific in the area because nobody's going to the beach at night. So we were concerned about the parking, so that's why we added some conditions that the leased spots be tied to actual people's names who own the property. But I agree with Melissa that, you know, we can't jam parking spots in every property, but we can't let properties sit, you know, dormant forever. So we need to activate the neighborhood, I think.
Alana, I see you picking up your microphone. Alana, you basically picking up your microphone. You have something you want to say?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
The whole thing about restaurants and trying to encourage people to come on scooters and public transport is an absolute misnomer because people that come to destination restaurants are not usually necessarily the locals that can walk there. So to think you're going to open a destination restaurant, especially by one of the most popular beaches in the world, people are going to come from long distances to make particular trips to go there. So it's a misnomer and it's really misleading to insist that a few bike spaces will substitute for parking for when people are coming to a destination restaurant. And the Coastal Commission, who has the final say on these things, does not really allow substitution of bike parking for parking spaces. And we should respect that at this point and not try and jam them through.
Anybody else? No? Other comments? All right. Melissa, unless you want to make a motion to postpone this until there's an applicant, no? We'll vote it up? Okay. All right, Melissa, roll call.
I was voting no. George, abstain? Okay, for now. Hugh?
No.
I vote yes. Justin?
No.
Matt Royce?
Yes.
Evan White?
He's got no.
Robert Thibodeau? Got it. Brad Aarons? Alex Seaman?
No.
Charleston Williams?
No.
Jamie Fish? Alana Rossi?
No.
Holly Sensen?
Yes.
Michelle Mepos?
Yeah.
James Mears?
No.
John Reed?
Yes.
Colin Zorro?
No.
Michael Greco?
Stay.
Okay, so it's 7-8-3. George wants to vote or anyone who abstains wants to vote, the motion fails.
Last call? All right.
Okay, thank you. That motion failed. Yeah. Oh. All right, 11C, Thatcher Yard. Oh, Robert's not here. All right, Matt, you want to make the motion?
Thatcher Yard, the motion is the VNC board recommends approval with all the requested plans and the following conditions. Number one, the haul route to be loaded Princeton Avenue. Number two, parking for workers during construction be outside the neighborhood. Number three, roads to be maintained in good condition during construction and completely restored to new condition after construction. And number four, harbor crossing entrance is to be relocated and made to a two-way.
Okay, so Matt made the motion, we need a second. This is gonna die for lack of a second, thank you. That's the rules. All right, Melissa seconded. Great, all right, so we would like a presentation.
That would work better if it's on. Good evening. My name is Tyler Monroe. I'm Vice President of Development for Thomas Safran and Associates. I'm delighted to be here. I can make this as short or as brief or as long as you all would like. I want to be mindful of your time and the hour that it is at this moment. But we're here and delighted to talk to you about Thatcher Yard, our proposal for an affordable senior and family housing project on a city-owned piece of property in the Oxford Triangle. Next slide, please. Just a brief background about who TSA is. We are a developer of affordable and mixed income housing here in Los Angeles County. We've been around a little over 40 years. We've developed about 6,000 apartments of affordable housing here in Los Angeles. This will be our fourth or fifth project here in CD11. And we're really working hard on both the homelessness issue and on the affordability issue here in Los Angeles. We also have an in-house property management company, so what that means is we make a long-term commitment in the community, so when we finish a project from a development standpoint, we remain engaged in perpetuity. So these projects are affordable based on state law for 55 years. We haven't sold an affordable project that we've owned in the 40 years that we've been doing business, and I think that's an important to state because it means that our commitment to the community is that these projects, once they're finished, remain and continue to be maintained at an exceptional level. Exceptional quality. Next slide, please. This is an aerial overview of the Thatcher Yard site, again in the Oxford Triangle. It's bound by Princeton, Oxford, Thatcher, and Admiralty. It's a little over 2 acres. Next slide, please. Here's an affordable, okay, so I think what's really important and we really want to lead with is the amount of outreach that's happened so far within the Oxford Triangle community and other neighbors to bring us to where we are today and to the LUPAC meeting that we had just a couple of weeks ago. We started on this project in 2017. We've had 5 publicly noticed meetings with an average attendance of 25 to 45 people dating back to December 8th of 2017. When we started on this project, it was really important to us to roll up our sleeves with the community and really figure out what type of a project would really make sense here, both from a design and a programmatic standpoint. That was really key. We also had additional community living room meetings where we just spent a lot of time listening to stakeholders and understanding what best, in the event that we're going to do an affordable and permanent supportive housing, how do you do one that is at the highest quality? In addition, we work closely with an organization by the name of the Oxford Triangle Association. A group of neighbors within the Oxford Triangle that formed themselves really as a response to this project and to kind of lead in efforts to collaborate on this project from the community standpoint. And they held separate meetings that were independent of us on their own to really gain feedback from as many people as they possibly could. I'm sure you'll hear from some folks after me that can speak a little bit more to that. Next slide, please. Here's the timeline behind you. I know you're looking at me, but the slides are all behind you. But here's a timeline of all the meetings that we've had leading to today. And as you can see, there's been a significant number of them. We believe that is really what's so key to what makes this project, we believe, an exceptional project. Next slide. So again, the site is a current public facility. It's in the Oxford Triangle specific plan and in the Venice Coastal Zone specific plan. Our proposal for this site is for 98 unit mixed in project of a combination of 68 this is flipped, it's actually 68 senior units and 30 family units, 68 should say seniors, with 82 parking spaces built to an FAR of 1.35. Next slide. Here's an overall site plan. We'll get a little more into how this is articulated, but this is really the 5th or 6th version of the site plan. I spent a lot of time iterating with the folks in the community. One thing that I just want to point out in the upper left-hand corner, from the very get-go, one really important comment that we've spent a lot of time on is ensuring that we don't have cut-through traffic coming in off of Washington through the community and ending up back on Lincoln. The community predating this project spent a lot of time protecting itself from cut-through traffic, and so one of the things that we spent a lot of time working with the city departments is to bring all ingress and egress for the entire project in off of Lincoln and not in off of Washington. And so what that means is we would put in a gate. There's actually a gate there existing, but we would relocate a gate. I'll show you some more details later. And that would be one of the first moves, actually would be the first move before we would start any construction. And the reason for that is just make sure all traffic, construction traffic and permanent traffic all comes out from Lincoln, not off Washington. Next slide. Here's a parking garage plan. We won't dive into it too much, but this is actually semi-subterranean as a response to a bunch of community input. We've pushed the building down as deep as we could without diving into the water table, so it's underground by about 5 feet. Next slide. Here is a kind of a comparative site plan. So everything that's in orange is a single-story, one-story element adjacent to all single-family residential. We have only 1 or 2-story buildings. Everything that's in green is a 2-story building. The light blue is about a 1.5-story building, and everything that's in dark blue is either 3.5 or 2.5 on the far right-hand side. And we went out and actually did a survey. We looked at all the adjacent heights of all the adjacent buildings, and so we ensured that our building is no higher than anything that's across the street. We also surveyed all the setbacks for every building around the building, and we're ensuring that our setbacks are as generous, if not more generous, than any of the setbacks all the way around the site. Next slide, please. Again, this is a ground floor plan. You'll start to see a lot of the units start to fall away. This, again, was part of the iterative process with the community, being respectful to the single-family residential, and where there is a bit more mass, up to 3.5 stories, it's tucked back to the C2 zone. So next slide, you'll see that you start to drop off units on the 2nd floor, on the corners of Oxford and Princeton, and then when you go to the 3rd floor, next slide, please. You'll see that everything is dropped away with the exception of a little bit of a mass in the middle and pulled away also from Harbor Crossing, which is a gated community along on the right-hand side. Next slide, please. This slide illustrates the evolution of the project since 2017, dropping from 152 units to 116 to the current 98 unit plan, although that 98 unit plan has continued to evolve through a lot of input. As you can see, the number of bedrooms has come down as a result of kind of finding right sizing this project for the site. But parking has actually increased, especially relative to the number of units that are on this site. That was an interest of the community, is to make sure that people that were living here or visitors weren't parking on the adjacent street where parking is already scarce, and that we were housing parking or having parking that was exceeded code for affordable housing. So we've done that, and then with the height as well. I think it's important to clarify that this project is not and has not proposed to use the permanent supportive housing ordinance. I know that's a topic of conversation among some. This is using a separate process. We committed to not use the PSH ordinance some time ago and have remained committed to that. So that's something that we're doing right now. Next slide, please. Here are some elevations that kind of show the architecture. It's a little bit of a coastal craftsman style architecture. Next slide. Here's how kind of the massing tiers back as well. Next slide, please. Here are a couple elevations on Thatcher and Oxford. Next slide. This summarizes the commitments that we've made to the community over the last 2 years. We put it out there just to make sure that it's really clear. We've reduced density from 152 to 98 units. We've reduced height from 5 stories to 3.5 stories at the maximum, 1 and 2 in other areas. We've lowered the garage from grade level to semi-subterranean. We've increased our setbacks. So that way they're as generous as adjacent single-family residential. We've reduced the FAR to 1.35, even though 3 is allowed according to the C2 zone adjacent. We've added perimeter fencing to prevent ingress and egress from folks in and out of the project. We've agreed to relocate a vehicle gate as requested by the community to make sure traffic is coming from the right locations. We've committed to enhanced on-site security systems and security measures. to ensure safety of residents and also the neighbors. And then we've agreed to quarterly meetings with our neighbors in the Oxford Triangle Association so that what I commit to you today isn't just words. We remain committed and we remain accountable to our local community and our local community. So that is the list of our events today. Here's a final concept rendering of the design. This is looking at it from Thatcher and Princeton, and the gate, it's like more of a articulation of the gate in terms of design. It's not the specifics, but it has one of those U+I gates to make sure that there isn't even motorcycle traffic coming through here. It's just for pedestrian. Next slide. And again, here is another rendering from Princeton Drive and Oxford of the project, and you can see the Aspen's Valley. Next slide, please. Here's a little bit more of a detail on this gate. I won't dwell on it too much. If there's questions, I'm happy to talk more about it. But next slide. Here's our commitment on our site access plan. I spoke about it a little bit earlier about bringing in traffic off of Lincoln and Washington. So this kind of shows our proposed haul route for in and out on this project and where the gate is located. This is something that we've committed to implementing from the beginning of the project. Next slide. Street on Oxford suggests that we would widen Oxford an additional, I think 12 to 14 feet to achieve city standard. The reality is this cul-de-sac on Oxford only has 4 homes that are on it, maybe 5, and the reality is it's sufficient the way it is, and not widening is something that will allow us to have an additional landscape buffer above and beyond the already generous setbacks that we're already providing. This is something that we've spoken with the Oxford Triangle Association with. They are supportive of this as well because, again, there's no sense in having Oxford Triangle widen when it only serves 4 or 5 homes. So we would support that as well. Next slide. And then here's an overview of the entitlements that we've requested. I'm happy to dive into more detail, but it's a conditional use permit process with a density bonus. We will go for a coastal development permit, NULO compliance, specific plan compliance, waiver of improvements, and then a site plan review because we have more than 50 units. Next slide. And thank you. So thank you very much. I'm here for questions.
Okay, thank you. We have a bunch of public comment cards. Soon. Rebecca, Muley, Yolanda, and Margaret.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to be very short. As you guys could see, the presentation was amazing. There's something that would be great for Venice. I've been following the homelessness epidemic of LA County as a whole, and specifically for Venice, this would be a great opportunity to help that. And I support what this company is trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Margaret.
It's a beautiful project. I think it's very clear how interactive the process was. I would hope commercial developers could learn something from that. You learn how to get to the community. They're an amazing developer. I've photographed one of their developments downtown, luxury lofts next door to 72 low-income units. Same developer, same property management, everybody's happy years later. They just run fantastic programs. I hope you will all support. It will be a fantastic addition to Venice. Thank you.
Beth, Alfredo, and Tony. Oh, Travis, hi. So, Beth Reed, Lenora Camino, and James Adams. Yeah, this was the 11C thing, so it might be a lot of people. Maybe 2 11Cs.
Yeah, basically, I'm just going to repeat what the other 2 ladies said. We desperately need this in Venice. We desperately need more affordable housing. That's it. Like, it couldn't have been better, and it looks like a really great development.
Thank you.
My name is Leonora Kamner. I'm Managing Director of Abundant Housing LA. We're a growing movement of pro-housing people throughout LA County. And Abundant Housing LA is supporting this project. And I was also asked by State Place for Youth to mention that they are supporting this as well. And we are also asking the Venice Neighborhood Council to explore the possibility of returning the project to the original size of 150 units. That was a huge loss of affordable housing when it was reduced from 150 to 98. Those were more than 50 homes that would have housed people that really badly need it. And we're in the middle of this housing crisis, this housing affordability crisis, and we have families living on the street. So I think that, we should explore adding back those 50 units or finding some other way to have an additional 50 units of supportive housing in Venice. Thank you.
Hi, my name is James Adams. I'm a resident in Venice for the last 20 years, and we've needed solutions like this for that much time and longer, so I'm fully in support of this project. I've also brought with me members of a club that I lead at University High School dedicated to civic participation. They've been studying homelessness, and this is one of the issues that they chose to come out and support, and I'm so proud to show them this process and that the community is doing things like this. Thank you.
Chelsea Byers and Barry Neely.
Robin, the way to make a project like this work, and they're working with the community, their sensitivity and involvement, the significant changes they made as they went through the process. They were serious about listening and making it work for this neighborhood, and they showed that. I also very much appreciate your attention to the character and scale of this neighborhood and the traffic flow. So again, bravo. And my only concern is the zone change from public facilities, but I can only hope that we're not going to be sorry we were losing this public facilities land use designation in the future if sea level rising and other things require more public facilities. But let's hope they studied that and know what they're doing. But I fully support your approval.
Chelsea.
I work with everyone in United Ways Campaign to build support for urban solutions and homelessness. 3 people who are experiencing homelessness are experiencing that due to economic instability, and affordable housing is a solution. And another quarter of the people who are experiencing homelessness are experiencing chronic homelessness, meaning they have a mental illness or some long-term disability that provides the need for long-term care. And that solution is supportive housing, and Thatcher Yard does both of those things. I just also wanted to add that the Southern California Association of Nonprofit Housing released a report today that said that Los Angeles County is experiencing a shortfall of affordable housing by way of 517,000 units. That's an extremely high amount of units, and to echo what Leonora said, I think you all should consider returning this to its original size of 152 units. We desperately need those affordable housing units, and why miss this opportunity? Thanks.
Hi, my name is Barry Neely. I'm here with my fellow She Does Movement people. We'd just like to say that we are here in support of this, and I applaud Thomas Saffron Associates for the very thorough plan. I also applaud Venice for supporting it. You guys seem to be all into this, so I appreciate it, because affordable housing is the answer in one small step, but it is one of the answers in solving the homeless crisis. I live in Palms, which is 3 miles down the road. I've seen kids living in tents with their parents sleeping in their cars right next to them. And I hope that they will be served by such projects as this, maybe in this project specifically. So thank you, Venice, and help you move forward.
Angie Bravo, Laura Mulligan, and George Bannon.
Hello, everybody. My name is Angie Bravo, and I'm here to support affordable housing.
As well, we all know that there is a crisis here with homelessness and people can barely afford to live, pay their bills day by day. So please support the affordable housing. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Mulligan. I think this looks like a great project. I'm really grateful to everyone who's put in so much work on it, and I hope you'll all vote to keep it going. Thanks.
Curtis Johnson, Alan Pick, and Becky.
Is this working? Yeah. Okay. My name is Alan Pick. My wife and I have lived in Venice for over 40 years. We were here when Venice used to be a diverse community, and we mourn the fact that it no longer is. I find this meeting amazing because we are having a meeting in Venice about affordable and homeless housing, and nobody's yelling at each other. This project is not just great because of what it does for the people who are living in the project and the people in the neighborhood, but it's a model for what we can do. If people will work hard and listen to each other and respect each other and compromise, then we can get this done. And I think and I'm amazed by Thomas Saffron Associates and the Oxford Triangle Homeowners Association for the hard work that they've done and the result they have, and it's a model for the rest of us.
My name is Curtis Johnson. Good evening, my name is Curtis Johnson, and I am a resident of one of the Thomas Saffron communities in Delray Square, which is in West Los Angeles. And I've been in there going on 5 years, and I urge you to enthusiastically support this project. Thomas Saffron is second to none, and I know firsthand because I work as a community diabetes educator throughout the United States, and I work in many housing communities. I work with many developers, and I provide diabetes workshops in those communities. So one of the things that Thomas Saffron brings to a community, not only this amazing project and amazing housing opportunity, but they go all the way with the management, and I work to develop healthy lifestyle and healthy programs for the members of the community. So enthusiastically supported. I applaud Venice for even being a first and a leader. And if you get an opportunity to drive by or visit Delray Square up on Culver and Inglewood Boulevard in West Los Angeles, you'll see the quality.
Community housing. We obviously are also big advocates for affordable housing in this neighborhood and big supporters of this project and Tom Saffron and Associates. There's absolutely no way to restore the diversity and flavor of Venice that we all love without building more affordable housing. We haven't done that in almost 20 years. And also, I do just want to acknowledge Tom Saffron in that he's been a longtime partner to our Venice Youth Build program for young adults to learn construction skills on their affordable housing developments throughout the West Side, since we haven't had those opportunities in Venice. So it's a great project. They're a great partner. We welcome them to the community. We hope you do as well.
Joelle. Oh, Joelle.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is George Bennett, and I'm also a resident at Delray Square in the community of Delray. Once upon a time, not too many years ago, I was struggling through a period in my life. I was fortunate to wind up through the VA Transitional Housing Unit, and while there, some representatives from Thomas Saffron Associates came by and made a presentation. I was fortunate to be one of the few who was selected to become a resident in their
Del Rey facility. Here's what I can tell you. I'm absolutely confident that we are an asset to the community of Del Rey. I'm sure that when the project was first proposed, there were those who may have had concerns about having formerly homeless people as their neighbors. But I will tell you with great confidence that we are an absolute asset to that community. The neighborhood council meeting meets there on election day. We are a polling place, and we serve the community as a partner in other ways as well. I'm absolutely confident that if you accept this project into your community, that if there are those who have concerns now, at some point in the future, you will absolutely see them as an asset to your community as well.
Hi, my name is Bernadette Lee. I'm an 18-year resident in the Oxford Triangle and actively was participating with the Oxford Triangle Association. And I definitely want to commend and I support the project, the Thomas Saffron project, because they did listen to our concerns about density and scale, ingress, egress, parking. And I thought it was a very collaborative process, especially because you're converting something from a R1 single-family zone to multifamily units. So I think they've done it very, very well, and it shows what can be done to work towards easing the homeless situation with an appropriately scaled development depending on the neighborhood and area. So thank you.
And this is Linda Lux. I want to start out by thanking this board for its service. I know how hard it is sometimes being behind that table. I did it for a long time, so I commend you. And I'm hopeful that tonight you're going to go out by approving this project, because this is an example of what that happens when a community comes together to address a serious problem in that community. This is a chance for Venice to step up and do something significant, and I know you'll sleep really well tonight when you vote yes on this project. You're going to feel really good about yourself because you know in your hearts it's the right thing to do. So thank you in advance for voting yes on this development.
My name is Joelle. I'm with the She Does movement. We're homeless advocates. We wanted to say thank you deeply for your support. We are very much in support of this project. We need a lot more of this. Affordable and supportive housing. So again, thank you.
Katrina Matheson, Mel Tiller, Karatina, and Karen Kelly.
Hi, my name is Katrina Matheson. I own an apartment building nearby, and I just wanted to say that I support this. I can't bear to see people living on the street, and I think this is a wonderful opportunity for Venice.
My name is Mel, and today I was at the City Council Plum hearing where, believe it or not, 30 people showed up to try to keep Tom Burgeon's bar in Mid-Wilshire open, which was already closed. So what I basically want to say to everybody here at this neighborhood council, thank you for being here and being involved in things that really matter in the lives of people, first off. Secondly, to be here in Venice and to see so many people out in support of affordable and supportive housing, thank you. And to reiterate what everybody else said again, because we need people in LA to wake up, we need affordable housing. So again, thank you. Let's pass this through.
Lisa Marinava, Claudia Oliveira, and Jonathan Ashworth.
Hello, good evening. My name is Lisa Marinava, and as everyone else has said, I'm here in full support of this project. We're facing a major homeless and housing crisis, and we are in need of as much affordable housing as possible to help our neighbors on the street, so thank you.
Claudia.
Downtown Los Angeles Neighborhood Council. I'm here in my private capacity. I'm also in support of She Does. I have seen many permanent supportive housing projects, and I haven't seen anything as perfect as this. To be honest, for them to get as specific to develop something for seniors and families that are addressing a population that is underserved and the most vulnerable is very rare. This is a project that I believe should be approved, and I'm a little bit jealous because I think this operator is fantastic, and the feedback that you guys have been getting from residents, from properties that are working with the communities, I think this is essential. It's a rare project, and I believe that if you guys approve it, you're doing the right thing. Thank you so much for your time.
Hello everybody, my name is Jonathan Ashworth. It wasn't too long ago I was here closer to the front row, and a small subset of people that was in support of the shelter that originally was passed. And now the has changed, and I'm very happy to see that. I'm in support of this project. I myself was a homeless veteran who was eventually housed and proof positive that it can make a huge impact in people's lives. I'm now working in this community to help other people that are facing the same situation. And I thank you for your support of this project.
John Peters Elzer and Frank Murphy.
Hello, I'm John Pelzer. I'm also with She Does. Any project that allows more of our neighbors to share in the right we all have to safe housing is important. That's why this project is important, and that's why I urge you to support it. Thank you very much.
Frank, Jen, but you can go for it.
Hello, this is Frank Murphy. In light of this project, I want to share with you some statistics relating to low-income and supportive housing units in the city of LA. To summarize what was distributed, you guys have a program in front of you. The Venice Community Plan Area is the 8th largest provider per capita of currently existing low-income and supportive housing units, not out of all 37 CPAs in the city of Los Angeles. The Venice CPA is the #1 provider on the west side of the city of LA. Venice provides 2.5 times the amount of the #2 contributor, which is Palms and Mar Vista. Venice provides over 25 times the amount of the least contributor, which is Brentwood Pacific Palisades. Bel Air and Beverly Crest contribute 0. Just to compare, areas outside the west side of the city of LA, Venice provides half again as many units as Santa Monica, and Venice provides 5 times as many as Culver City. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's it for public time. I have a thought. I'm going to pass the microphone because I have a few questions, comments here. Quickly, I'm in favor of the project.
It didn't make it in here. It might have got tied up with the 11. There were 2 11s, so just come up and do that.
Is it on? Good. 3 years ago, I got together with several of my neighbors to form the Oxford Triangle Association to handle negotiations for this project. Our first priority was to make sure that as many neighbors as possible were included in the OTA. We distributed postcards, went on social media, formed a website, email list, and Facebook group. In November 2017, over 60 neighbors attended our first meeting. 107 residents would ultimately donate to our legal fund. We made the plans available on the web and conducted an online survey of over 60 households. We reached out to TSA to ask them to negotiate in good faith with our membership. Over the past 3 years, I personally attended 11 meetings regarding the project at Thatcher Yard, it's 3 blocks from my house, including several that included both TSA and as many neighbors as could attend. The meetings with TSA were not only informative, they were also very constructive. Last month, the OTA issued letters stating our approval of the project entitlements as presented to LUPIC. We did so only once we were confident the majority of the 100-plus residents who attended our meetings and donated to our legal fund agreed. Despite our councilman's characterization of this letter as Venice says yes, in fact, more like the Oxford Triangle says, okay, so long as the plans for the project are approved and built exactly as submitted. And on behalf of the OTA, I ask that you do just that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Put in a card too? All right, come on. Yeah. We apologize if they got mixed up, they'll keep their 11 seats.
Yes, I'm Carl Hoppy. I live in Princeton and Oxford, and that's 75 feet from the Thatcher yard. I wanted to comment about the size of the project. As we've been told, we had a dozen meetings at several locations. I've met with at least 200 of my neighbors in the aggregate. But this project is 100 houses dropped into a community consisting of 350 houses. When we started out, we were asking for 35 houses of single family. And then the Oxford Triangle Residents Association, headed by Steve Friedman, moved that number up to 65. So is it too many? Is it too? We've compromised quite a bit to come up to 9. And Saffron has worked with us very well. I'm impressed by them, and I hope we'll pass this.
Anybody else that put in a card that got reshuffled? Okay. No, I support the project wholeheartedly. However, what's with the clock towers? I don't get it. I taught, and I'm going to say it again, I taught school for 15 years, 6th through 12th grade. Nobody knows how to read an analog watch. It's all on the phones. So now we're building clock towers, and the other one's going to have a big clock tower too. It's ridiculous. They're the tallest things, and I don't want any private developers to take that to heart. There are no private developers that put giant clock towers up. Please change it. It's a waste of space, it's a waste of money, and nobody can tell time. Secondly, well, you laugh about it, but it's a waste. I got involved in the VNC around 2001, 2002, because there was a development at the bus yard there, which is really funny, which was this is a gated community. Fine, the buildings are beautiful. Why do we need a gated community? Who are we keeping out? And the problem might be that in the years to come, it may become such a beautiful development that it turns into condos, and now we have the gates already there. It's just my opinion. I'm voting for it. I'm not voting at all, but I think it's great. Thank you. I get it right because I'm the boss. Okay. Board comment. Okay, anybody on this side? Anybody on this side? Okay, Jim. Robert, all right, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a couple of comments. You stole my thunder with the fence. I'm concerned that on Princeton and on Oxford, that the fences are going to not only separate the community from being able to participate with the people living inside directly across the street, but the same is going to be true with the people living inside this project, which is designed at this point to be completely focused inward, and it doesn't necessarily connect with the people directly across the street. The doors are all facing inward. None of the doors are facing to the outward streets. None of the neighbors across the street are going to be able to get to know them. It's going to be like living in an apartment building that nobody knows anybody because they all have their own private entrances. Having planted several hundred, over 1,000 trees in Venice, I looked at the tree list, the trees that are going in on this project. The very first one is the Australian willow. If you look at the trees that I planted in the late 80s on rows, in the first block of rows, which is around Main Street, they're 25 to 30 feet tall, which isn't even as tall as these buildings. And that's after 30 years of growing. Those trees never get much bigger than that in this climate, and it's a perfect example. None of the trees in this project are going to be as tall as the buildings. Environmentally, that's the wrong thing to do. You're not casting shade on anything. It's wrong because it doesn't make a nice community. And the same style trees being around all the perimeter, you haven't yet started to connect to the community across the street. And what are the trees across the street? Why are you putting in one brand of tree on 4 sides of your project and not connecting with the community at all? So I have a problem with that too. Other than that, I think it's a very pretty project. I just hope you can take some of these thoughts of mine into consideration. Thank you.
No. John?
Yeah, I think part of our housing crisis has to do with the fact that we haven't been building any rental apartment housing in Venice in years and years. So I fully support this project for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is I really like the way they transition between the single-family residences and this project. I think the density could have been a little bit higher regarding the senior citizen project. And what I'd like to have seen is also more of a workforce housing component to the project. So not just being 100% affordable, but a workforce component where we could have had, teachers, policemen, firemen, who obviously aren't low income, but have difficult finding housing in Venice because of the high cost. So that's one thing I really wish we had a component, some workforce housing, but I support the project.
Okay, on this side, Ilana?
I just want to say thank you. I commend you because it's a project that I know I've heard for a while, the local community. We're very happy with the fact that you worked with them and listened to their concerns and only stuck to 1 to 2 stories. You put in the subterranean parking, which is a huge thing, density low, all the good things. You provided more parking, enough parking. You took the traffic impact into account, like all these good things. These are things we sit up here and we ask for, community asks for, and rarely do we ever have a developer that actually will listen, hear, and compromise. So I want to say thank you. I've actually been into the Del Rey building for a neighbourhood council meeting, and I had no idea I was in an affordable housing building. It's really beautiful. So I'm happy for the community that you're building there. I wish you were involved with building more for us here in our community. And I would like to see all permanent supportive housing developers collaborate with us like you have. So thank you.
Justin?
I just want to throw in another comment as well to underscore the fact that this is how developers can work with the community to create an effective solution to a very delicate issue. So thank you.
I don't have a problem with the clock. I actually have a clock. I have an analog clock with me. And this is for seniors and kids. Seniors know how to tell the time on these clocks, and kids should learn. So thank you.
Try that when you put the time on the board when you're testing, so everybody knows. Any more down this end? No? No? Matt?
I'll just repeat what I said at the Olympic meeting. I think it's a great project. I think Tom Sauerschon's a really great developer and was a great operator. And they did the unthinkable, which was appease all the community's concerns, which was amazing. My only concern is the math and the economics of this project. As somebody said, we have a shortfall of probably 500,000 affordable units. And if they each cost about $600,000 to build, that's like $300 billion that I don't think exists. And I think this land is this is a huge amount of land, and I think it's worth $30 to $40 million just the dirt. So I'm concerned that this is not the best use of public resources. I think that amount of value could build 10 times as many units somewhere nearby, but less expensive. So that's the only reason I don't support the decision to put a project here, although I do like this particular project.
Okay, thank you. Any other? Okay, roll call.
Okay, I'm gonna. Justin.
Yes.
Matt Royce.
No.
Evan White.
Yes.
Robert Thibodeau. Okay. Or he's. Oh, we're good. Right, sorry. Brad Aarons. Alex Neiman.
Yes.
Jocelyn Williams.
Yes.
Jamie Page. Alana Rossi.
Yes.
Holly Simpson.
Yes.
Michelle Maples.
Yes.
James Reyes.
Yes.
John Reed.
Yes.
Colleen Sorrow.
Yes.
Michael Greco.
Yes.
George Francisco.
Abstain, so that Ira can vote.
So Ira Coslow.
Yes.
Hugh Harrison.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So 6-1.
Okay, now. Okay. All right. Penny first. Okay. Please, quietly, please.
Okay, folks, hope you enjoyed it. Okay. I want to start getting back to my roots. That's why I'm starting to do more of these. I started doing these Venice things when I first started out filming. And I'm trying to get back to my roots. So, I've been going the wrong way here. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this meeting. Affordable housing. Let's see if it happens. Let's see if it happens. Alright, this is Tony VERA sounding off. Hope you guys enjoyed it. There's more to come. But I got a phone call today to cover this meeting. I'm glad I came. And affordable housing. That's what Venice needs. Let's see if it happens. Alright, folks. Talk to you guys next live stream, and I thank you for the phone call today to get me over here. I haven't been in one of these things in a long time. Sounding off.